Good day, pupils, and welcome to today's digital class. I hope you are fine today, and I hope we are going to have another wonderful time together. So I need you to get yourself ready as we go through the class together. Today, we want to continue with the topic we started with. Remember, in the last class, we looked at the topic excretion, and there we defined the meaning of excretion. We looked at some excretory organs and their functions. There we talked about excretion being the removal of metabolic waste from the body. And we looked at two excretory organs, which are the kidney and the lungs. So kindly go through the lesson again to remind yourself of what we considered in the last class. So today we want to continue with the other excretory organs. We shall be taking a look at two other excretory organs today. The first is the skin. The skin. I believe you know what the skin is. The outer coverage or the outer layer of the body. Okay? Now, what does the skin excrete? The skin excretes sweat through the sweat glands. Okay? The skin comes in different layers. Okay? The layer that you can see, that is the outer layer of the skin. Okay, called epidermis. And this outer layer of the skin, okay, has openings that we call sweat pores. This is where sweat escapes from the body. Okay, so sweat is released to the surface of the body through openings called sweat pore. Through openings called sweat pore. Are you with me? So now, take note that sweat is a waste in the body that contains about 99% of excess water in our body. It contains about 99% of water, okay, and a very little percentage of salt and urea. If you can remember very well, we talked about urea as one of the poisonous substances excreted by the kidney in the previous class. Okay, so take note and let me repeat that the sweat contains water, excess water, about 99% of water. It contains salt and it contains urea, just a very little percent of urea. Okay, so the act of sending out this waste product called sweat is what we call sweating, or we call it perspiration. Or we call it what? Perspiration. Let's take the spelling of that. P-E-R-P-E-S. Okay, let's take that again. Perspiration. P-E-R, perspiration. P-E-R-S-P-I-R-A-T-I-O-N. Perspiration. So that is another name we call sweating. Okay, so let's take a look at what's the diagram of the skin. This is how the skin looks like. Okay, these are the different layers of the skin. Now you can see the sweat glands. That the sweat glands are not found at the outer layer of the skin. They are found buried in the inner layer, that is the dermis of the skin. They are buried down in the inner layer of the skin. You can see the coloration, that it is colored red. That shows that what? that waste is carried by blood. Where you see red color in most diagrams like this, it shows the presence of blood. Okay, so once the waste, which is the excess water, the urea, the salts, are produced in the body, they are carried through these sweat glands. Okay, then it takes it to the surface. Then there are openings at the surface of the skin called the sweat pores, and this is where the sweat escapes from. Okay, so please take a very good look at the diagram, and if you can draw it, you draw it in your notes. Good. So shall we quickly go to the second one? And that is, okay, just take a look at the diagram on the screen. What does that look like? That organ is what we call the liver. That is the liver. Liver is a very important organ in the body. Okay, it helps to break down many waste in the body. Although the liver does not directly excrete most of this waste by itself. Okay, so when liver breaks down toxic substances in the body, when we say toxic substances, we are talking about poisonous substances in the body. It sends them to different parts of the body where they can be excreted out of the body. The major waste excreted by the liver. Okay, now so take note of what you see on the screen there. Liver secrete bile. Okay, liver, one of the liquid or substances that it produces is bile. Okay, and if you look at the diagram very well, bile is stored in a container, a small container called gallbladder. So you can see the gallbladder, that greenish part of the liver. Okay, that is what we call the gallbladder. In the last assessment I gave you, some of us were calling bladder gallbladder. The urinary bladder is not the same thing as the gallbladder. They are two different things. The urinary bladder helps to store urine, while gallbladder stores bile. Okay, bile is secreted by the liver. Bile is secreted by the liver. So please take note of that. The liver secretes bile. Okay, and this bile now helps to transport one of the poisonous substances, okay, that the liver breaks down in the body. And this poisonous substance is called bilirubin. It's called bilirubin. Okay, it's called bilirubin. Now, bilirubin is is one of the waste or dead red blood cells in the body. Okay, you know, we have blood in our body, so there are sometimes that the cells of this blood becomes weak and they die. They need to be sent out of the body. So that is, these dead red blood cells are called bilirubin. So they are broken down by the liver and sent into the gallbladder with the bile. Okay, so these find their way into the blood and sent out of the body through the large intestine. Okay, and that comes out through our feces. Okay, when we defecate, and that is why sometimes when you defecate, you see the color of your excreta is brownish in color. So it is that bilirubin, okay, that gives our excreta the color, the brownish coloration, that gives our feces the brownish coloration. Okay, so please take note of that. So let me go over that again. The liver secretes a liquid called bile. The bile is stored in the gallbladder. Now, the liver also helps to break down or collect the dead red blood cells in the body and send them with into the gallbladder with the bile. So the bile now flows with this dead red blood cell called bilirubin into the blood. Then from the blood, it finds its way out of the body through the large intestine, and we excrete it out through with our feces. And that is why our feces sometimes has brownish color. Is that okay? So please take a very good note of that. Take good note of that. And you can see what is on the screen. Bile is stored in the gallbladder. So these are the two excretory organs we are considering for this week. So we have considered the 4 major excretory organs in the body. We have seen the kidney, we have seen the lungs, we have seen the liver, and the skin. So please take good note of all this as you are going to be taking your assessment again on Friday. And some of these things discussed will be in the assessment. Those of us that have not been doing the assessment very well, remember I am taking note of your scores. Okay? Your scores may be added to your eventual score when we resume. Okay? You never can tell. So make sure you take it very, very serious as you are doing it. All right, see you again in the next class as we are going to draw the curtain for today's class on this note. Thank you so much for your time. Bye for now and see you in the next class.